IT services, I mean information technology services stocks. And yesterday when the market was falling, it was the IT stocks that provided some bit of support. And Amit over here, what was the big news? What happened as far as the IT stocks were concerned?
IT stocks in the last 1 year, Suyesh, have not really performed. Even the Nifty IT around 27% gain over the last 1 year. Now the US-based global brokerage firm CLSA upgraded its counters for the IT pack in India, and specifically they said the standout performance is going to come from TCS, which is going to be the top performer amongst the pack. And the target call for TCS, CLSA raised it to 4,043 up from the earlier 3,925. But the upgrade was to an underperform from a sell call. The next that the target that they raised was of HCL Tech, which was raised to 1,553 up from 1,536 earlier, again to an underperform from a sell call. The third one, which they had already given a big outperform call earlier on, was Tech Mahindra, and they reduced that call to a buy call, and the target was reduced to 1,508 from 1,518. Now, that is basically it. Amar, my question is it because this pack has not really performed, and even in the last 5 days, if we look, most of them are floundering in the either slightly in the negative or just above zero as far as gains are concerned? Is it because of that CLSA feels that it is time that this pack is going to basically have conservative gains in the times to come?
Yeah, I would say if you look at the overall macro of the IT stocks, I would say primarily the major ones, we are seeing that there is definitely concerns with regard to going forward in terms of the revenue growth, in terms of the bottom line growth, top line growth, and also in terms of the orders. Because having said that, US though is seeing some good decent growth, but there's a lot of structural changes that's happening, and also in terms of the order flows, that is a concern there. And also what we are seeing is that the way technology has been evolving and the way going forward, how these companies are able to really cope up with the future, next 3 to 5 years, that's going to be very interesting to watch out, because there we could see a lot of surprises happening. Because a lot of work which is being done by many of these companies that might be redundant or might become redundant going forward to a certain extent. So how these companies really cope up with that also markets or investors from a long-term perspective, they are factoring in. Having said that, if you look at some of the major stocks which you mentioned, like TCS. Now, TCS on the long-term charts, though it looks good, but intermediate-term trend, we are seeing consolidation. Short-term, we've seen the stock correct towards 3,800, 3,850 levels. Currently, it's around 3,950. So it's more of a range play in TCS. If I look at Infosys for that matter, Infosys is comparatively weaker than TCS on the charts. So that clearly is visible on the charts. If I look at some of the other stocks which you mentioned, like for example, Tech Mahindra. So what exactly is Tech Mahindra doing on the charts? Again, it's not very strong on the charts. So what these major stocks, IT stocks are displaying on the charts is that investors are not really gung-ho about these particular stocks or this sector as of now. There would be some stocks maybe where there could be some interest depending upon how they really plan out their future and what are they exactly doing in their current scheme of things. And having said that, if I look at the Nifty IT, because ultimately that really tells us the broader picture. So there again, we are seeing consolidation. After the rally, again, it's around 35,000 odd levels, Nifty IT. It's more or less consolidation. So I would say that IT, you have to be very selective. We want to get into IT, don't expect some major returns, at least in the short term, unless we see some very positive developments coming from the US.
Do you see the IT companies going through a sort of a tectonic shift as far as their structures are concerned with the coming of AI and quantum and those sorts of technology and large language models, where India has been a laggard? So do you see a period where there will be a low phase in these companies where they are basically restructuring themselves to brace themselves for the new realities?
And that's a very interesting point that Amit made over there, because look at what happened in the US markets. It was the rally to record highs was primarily driven by this 4 or 5 tech stocks. So it makes sense for them to also shift focus to what's the trend, which is AI.
And an interim period when this shift is happening.
Yeah, so if we look at the IT stocks and companies going forward, there's no doubt about it that the technology shift that we are going to see in the next 5 to 10 years, 10 years, I would say, is a longer period, 3 to 5 years is going to be something which is going to be extraordinary and phenomenal. So there is no doubt about that. And there how these IT companies are actually able to cope up with and really come up with so that they can manage their revenue streams as well. Because what's going to happen is that a lot of the work, which I said, which the companies, many of the companies are outsourcing to these IT companies, that they might start to a certain extent doing on their own. Because a lot of the activity would get automated, a lot of it would be very easy even for non-programmers to really take up that. So these are areas which is going to explode going forward in the next 3 to 5 years. So I would say, so there definitely is a challenge, but at the same time, every challenge comes with an opportunity. So we'll have to watch out how these IT companies really are able to live up to the challenge. And as you rightly said, we are behind the curve in terms of the latest technologies, no matter what we say. So there's a lot of catching up for us to do. So it's going to be interesting times for the IT sector as well as the overall industry at large.